Anthony Edwards. Pretty good ball player. In fact, he's so good that some people have taken to calling him, or Himothy, or even sometimes Michael Jordan's son. Now, we here at A Fan's Eye View do share the sentiment that Anthony Edwards is in fact him. However, we know that not everyone believes that. So, in this video, me and Sam are going to try and persuade you and show you exactly how and why Anthony Edwards is him. Edwards is one of those players who always seems to improve year to year. But last season, we got our first look at him as the true number one guy on a team. Timberwolves star Karl Anthony Towns went down in the team's 21st game and wouldn't return until the very end of the season, leaving all the team's aspirations and the fans' high hopes on the back of one man. That man was Anthony Edwards. He certainly didn't disappoint those fans either, as he put on a show all season and scored the fourth most single-season points in franchise history. That helped the Wolves earn their second straight trip to the playoffs, a feat they haven't accomplished since 2004. Now, it's obvious that Edwards is good, but what makes us so confident in him that we think he could even win MVP soon? Well, before we dive into it, if I could just ask you guys real quick to hit the like button and subscribe if you like the content. It helps out a ton, and it doesn't cost you anything. But anyway, let's take an in-depth look at Anthony Edwards. Edwards definitely passes the eye test, as he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists last season. And that 25 points per game mark slotted him at 16th in the entire league. And as we already mentioned, he is constantly improving, so it wouldn't be surprising to see him crack the top 10 in scoring next year. And that would cement him as one of the top players in the league, even in the eyes of casuals. Edwards is no stranger to highlight reels either, as he has already pulled off some of the most insane dunks in recent history and looks to continue to do so. He has a unique mix of size and athleticism, as he stands 6'4", 225, but also incorporates a 42-inch vertical into the mix, which allows him to finish in so many different ways. We've already mentioned the dunks, but he has one of the softest touches around the league and is adept at adjusting and finishing mid-air. Now, the average fan sees Edwards' stats and sees he shoots a very respectable 36% from 3, but few aside from Timberwolves fans know the impressive ways in which he actually hits those shots, with a wide variety of catch and shoots, pull-ups, fadeaways, spin around and huck it up, basically every way you can imagine, but he's able to hit those shots. Edwards has also grown defensively and is usually drawing the number 2 option on every team they play, but that is only because Jaden McDaniels is one of, if not the best defender in the league, and he takes the number 1 guy. It's not just his on-ball defense that's elite, as he averages over a steal and a half per game, and a lot of that is his ability to read and jump passing lanes, like a sweaty lock in 2K. Edwards is also the best shot blocker out of the guard position we have seen since Dwayne Wade, and he showed that in the playoffs last season as he averaged 2 blocks per game.
Now that we've established Ant's skill set, let's get into what is setting himself apart from the rest of the league and what we think will place him in the top 10 and soon to be the top 5 players in the league. Let's take this back to before the NBA draft in 2020. The Timberwolves back in the 1920 season were having yet again another abysmal season. Finishing 19-45, the Wolves acquired D'Angelo Russell from the Warriors in exchange for Andrew Wiggins. The Wolves had completely blown up the team as they traded everyone except for Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Okogie, and Naz Reid. Cat was riddled with injuries, and for the Wolves, a team with a brand new roster and identity was without their All-NBA and All-Star center. It wasn't looking great for the Wolves, but on August 20th of 2020, things would completely change. The Wolves claimed the first overall pick in the 2020 draft, and at the time, there were only 2 clear picks for the Timberwolves to make. They had to make a choice between LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. Now, a lot of fans had a lot of hype surrounding LaMelo and his flashy play and incredibly high ceiling, but Ant was a proven guard in college and was outstanding, working with almost 20 points per game, 5 boards, and a steal and a half per game. It seemed like Ant was the more safe option in the draft, but there was something that fans thought would be a glaring hole in his game. the passion. Fans, critics, talk show hosts, you name it, all thought Anthony Edwards didn't have the passion for the game of basketball. He had stated that his first love, and still is, football. They seem to be a big deal to a lot of fans and critics. They thought Ant wouldn't have passion in his game and would not be a great NBA player and dedicate himself to the game. But man, were they all wrong. This last year, Edwards made a huge jump in the league, becoming an all-star for the first time and leading his team to being the 8th seed in the playoffs without Karl Anthony Towns, who was out for almost 2/3 of the season. And in his 5 games against the Nuggets, he dropped almost 32 points per game. We've seen Ant elevate his game in the playoffs for the second year straight. The year prior against the Grizzlies, he dropped 25 per game. The elevation in his game is so obvious. From the regular season to the postseason, his points per game increased. In the 22 playoffs, his points per game went up from 21 to 25. And in the season before, he went from 25 to 32, a 4 and a 7-point jump in his playoff performances. And his numbers are as efficient, if not more efficient. So fans might be asking, where does this come from? Well, the simple answer to us is that he does have the passion. Ant strives to be the best in anything and everything, as he stated that he's been A1 since day one. No matter what it is, he wants to be the best. Even if football was his first love, he knew he was better at basketball, and he's putting in the work and dedication. Like I mentioned about the mid-range game for Ant, it's something we've been starting to see more and more of. Towards the end of playoffs and in the FIBA World Cup, we saw an increase of these post-fade, pull-up, spin jumpers, all within the post, and those kinds of shots are what are made by more of the elite scorers in this league, which is why he's been compared to guys like Jordan and Kobe. Ant does have the mentality of being the best and wanting to be the best, the same way Kobe and Jordan did. The difference with Ant is that it feels more like a watch this kind of attitude. I believe he's heard the critics and the fans that said he didn't have the passion or drive to be one of the next greats in our league, and I think he took that to heart. And now he's saying, watch me do it. And we're starting to see it. After USA was eliminated from the FIBA Cup, all everyone could say was Ant is the only one who deserves a spot on the next USA team. And if he were to get a spot on that team, he would be with the likes of LeBron, Curry, Durant, Tatum, Booker, all guys considered to be top 10 players in the league. And if LeBron is putting that team together, do you think he would reject Anthony Edwards? In fact, LeBron chose him first in the All-Star game for his team on the reserves. I think that says a lot about Ant and what LeBron may even think about him as a player. Ant wants to win. He's a natural-born leader like MJ and Kobe were, and the Killers as well. Sometimes ruthless towards teammates, but Ant's personality is a lot more easygoing and fun, but he lifts his teammates up, and he gives his teammates love almost every time in any win in all of his interviews. He may hold the spotlight, but he makes sure everyone else is given respect too. He isn't selfish, and even though we'll say how great he is and how he thinks he's the greatest, I think it's more of a way to tell him to keep going and the motivation for himself. He's telling himself he'll be the greatest, so he thinks like the greatest. He wants to be a winner, and he has a killer mentality, and is developing more and more. And what's scary, he's only 22, and he's already has this dog mamba mentality to his game. And better yet, we still haven't seen him peak and hit his prime. Off-court Ant is the most lovable player. He's witty, happy, and is always looking to have a fun time with whoever and whatever he's doing. But when he steps on the court, he becomes a killer. He will attack you from wherever on the court and will never be afraid of who he's up against. This type of mentality is what sets Anthony Edwards apart from the rest of the stars in this league. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into this video. If you like our content and you're new to the channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Maybe turn on the notifications as well. It helps us out a ton, and we truly do appreciate it. And while you're at it, if you want to drop a comment down below telling us what you think of Anthony Edwards, we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let us know if you think he's overrated, underrated, perfectly rated, and what you think the future holds for him, as we're really curious what you guys have to say about Anthony Edwards as well. But for now, I'm Sam, and from Justin as well, we thank you guys a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.